Dale's Code of Experience by Edgar Dale's Theory. It is a model that incorporates several theories that is related to instructional design and learning process. Dale's Code of Experience was a core in the 1960s. Theorized that learners retain more information by what they do as opposed to what they heard, read, and observed. So before we dig into information about the core cone of experience, let us just first know who is the man theorized the cone of experience, which is Edgar Dale. So he was an American educator who developed the cone of experience, also known as the learning pyramid. He was born on April 27th, 1900s in Benson, Minnesota, United States of America. And he was able to complete his degree at the University of Chicago, University of North Dakota. He died on March 8, 1985. So that's the information about Edgar Dale. So the Dale's Cone of Experience helps teachers to plan different kinds of learning experience in order to create the most effective learning environment for the purpose of studying geographical contexts. As what you can see in the screen, that is the actual photo of Edgar Dale. So right now let's move on forward to explain the different stages of understanding of Dale's Cone of Experience theory. So these are the information that we can read or see on the. So right now we will know what are the reason why we can only acquire 10% on what we read, 20% on what we hear, 30% on what we see such image and watching videos, 50% on what we see and hear, which is attending exhibits, watch a demonstration, and 70% on what we say and write, which is participate on hands-on workshops, as well as design collaborative lessons, and 90% on what we do, which is simulate, model, or experience a lesson, design or perform a presentation, or do the real thing. So the main reason that we can only acquire 10% on what we read is that because due to idiomatic words, so which is the difficult words that we cannot understand right away. Right? So the main reason that we only acquire 10% of understanding on what we read is that we students, we tend to be forgetful on what we read. So especially during COVID-19 pandemic, we students were able to give a module from our teacher that we need to answer. So we tend to read the information, and after we read, we answer the following questions. And after we answer, we tend to forget on what are the learnings that we have acquired, or what are the learnings that we have answered on the question that is given to the teacher. So that is a very low understanding through reading. Students can only acquire 20% of learning on hearing. Why? Is that because, for example, a teacher explain or keep on explaining, sharing information, sharing ideas with all, without any sort of visual aids or any image. So students were able to acquire 20% of that. Students were able to leave their mind hanging or keep on imagining different information, visualizing the information that was given to a teacher. So that was the reason why students were able to acquire 20% on what they hear. And the third one, the reason, or what are the reason why the students were able to get a 30% of understanding on what they say, especially on image and watching video? Is that because we students tend to focus ourselves on what we have seen such a beautiful in our eyes, especially in the image? We did not really dig in the meaning behind that image, and especially for the videos, watching videos, we tend to focus ourselves on the happy ending, or sometimes on the climax. So we tend to only focus ourselves on the thrilling scenarios, happy scenarios, the kilig moments of the actor behind the movie, without any actually understand the whole or the full movie of itself. So that was the reason that we can only acquire 30% on what we see. So 50% on what we see and hear. The example of this is watching demonstration. So the teacher tend to demonstrate, especially the steps on how to use, for example, a laptop. So somehow the students, especially in high school, didn't have their own laptop. So as an ICT students, teacher were able to make a step-by-step process on how to use it. But we students tend to acquire 50% on understanding, because we students tend to listen and see what the teacher do without actually doing it. So we student can acquire 70% of understanding on what we say and write. So in relation to the previous example that I have mentioned, which is a teacher provide a step-by-step process. So as a student, if the teacher were able to provide the first step and the students were able to navigate it by themselves, in that way students can acquire 70% of understanding, because they have experience, they hands-on workshop. They were able to they can acquire knowledge because they are actually doing it. They are actually following the process of the step-by-step process that is given by a teacher. And lastly, students were able to get the 90% understanding on what they do. So for the teacher able to measure the understanding of the students, he or she will able to provide an activity such as making an HTML program. Let us say he already provided the code and the step-by-step process. The students were able to make their own HTML program. In that way, teacher were able to test or measure the understanding of the students. In that way, since the students were able to navigate by themselves, exploring themselves through the use of personal computer or any sort of computer, in that way students were able to gain 90% of understanding on what they do, because they do the real thing. They experience it by themselves. Alright? So in that way, students were able to discover and experience by themselves on how to make an HTML. So that was the reason that the students were able to acquire 90% on what they do. And that will be all. Thank you.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face, tell me that you love me, even if it's